there. Kind of blocked him right. Oh, boy, he just popped him. Linesman went down. Did he get a...
Ben pops Scheifele, who's now incensed, trying to get back at him, but he's wrestled down to the ice.
And that right there,
That's where you gotta be careful.
the JB Ben punch in the face to Mark Scheifele was the most interesting thing that happened in the Stanley Cup playoffs last night. The Canes, they play smothering defense, they capitalize on a small mistake, and they win hockey games, and they knock out the Washington Capitals, who have actually only won one second-round series in the past 20 years. That was back in 2018 when they won the Cup. And then Winnipeg, well, they did what Winnipeg does. They win at home. If the Stars scored first last night, I think it would have been a totally different game, but the Jets played well. But both of these teams, and if you were watching this, they're both going to have to be way more physical and play with more emotion to take on the waiting Edmonton Oilers, because the Oilers are firing on all cylinders. I think Jamie Benn just put the Jets on notice that he's ready for Game 6, which will be played tomorrow night. Welcome to the Friday, almost long weekend edition of the Sports Cage. It's Maz in for Barney, along with the, it's not the double C's today, Curtis and Colson. We'll call them the C&A crew. Curtis is off, an extra long weekend. So it's Colson and the Sheriff Big Al. They're running things back at Century Studios. I don't think we've seen Big Al since the day after WrestleMania. Got a lot to catch up on. Good to get Al back on the radio. Prairie Land Rentals text line is 306-936-6262. The show is always better when you're part of it, without a doubt. We're on the radio talking sports for the next 3 hours, and we're also streaming our show. You can grab us on X and on our YouTube channel at sportscage.com. The show is brought to you by Nelson Homes, supplying home packages and RTMs for over 65 years. In just a couple of minutes, we're going to check in with the voice of the Riders, Dave Thomas, and our color guy, Luke Mullinder, from Saskatchewan Rough Rider Training Camp in Saskatoon at the Red Zone Sports Bar behind the Travel Lodge. Also to come this hour, Jordan Schmaltz. He's at jschwish24 on Twitter. He's one of the hosts of Hockey Night in Scottsdale. I don't know if you've ever seen this. It's like a live stream, like a Manning cast. Him and his partner, Rob Gucci, Heat Daddy, just do it on their couch from their condo in Arizona. It's fun. He's great. He's also got his own podcast, Live in 5, and he's part of the Missing Curfew crew with Scotty Upshaw and Shane O'Brien. And he's currently public enemy number 1 with Carolina Hurricanes fans. So that'll be in about a half hour. And Farhan Lalji from TSN will also join the show. Today's Twitter poll question, it being the long weekend, seems like all of our neighbors have fifth wheel trailers, and we don't. And no matter what the weather, like they're already gone. For a good chunk of southern Saskatchewan, it's going to be like kind of sunny maybe and 14. Camping on the May long weekend. Yes. No matter what the weather, no. The weather's nice. Where do you fall on that? At SportsCage. And when you're there, if you want to give us a follow. All right. Training camp continues at Griffith Stadium in Saskatoon. And Dave Thomas and Luke Mullinder were there today. But as we find out, it was a shortened practice today. Gents, is there any story behind this? Did things get cut short because of an incident, or was this a planned situation all along?
No, it was a plan. It was a revised plan. Like about midweek, the Rough Riders liked where they were at, so they decided that they were going to go ahead and have an abbreviated walkthrough today. But I was talking with you, Luke, if we were surprised, because a year ago at this time, the Rough Riders were planning and preparing for their first preseason game. That's not the case this year with the schedule. So I said, like, is this out of the norm to have a walkthrough in the middle of training camp? But you said it's not. It's fine.
Yeah, no, you've got a practice coming up. Rider Fan Day is always a big deal for Rider Nation, right? But it's also a chance, especially when you have your first exhibition game that's still a week away. It's still a chance to get through and put yourself in a lot of situational football type scenarios. So I think that in order to do that, because you want to get the best evaluation possible for the guys, you want to treat it as close to an exhibition game as possible. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some sticks out there. on Saturday. I wouldn't be surprised to see some refs. Wouldn't be surprised to see them going through all the specials. You saw them today, making sure that everybody knew where they were on the depth chart, on the kick returns, punt returns, and stuff. Because you don't want to get cut just because you weren't actually out on the field when you were supposed to be. But more importantly, the most important thing about walkthrough today, everybody always thinks, "Oh man, that's a day off." It's not a day off. You need to capitalize on the walkthroughs because those are mental days. And the playbook is a lot larger. Guys are starting to think a lot more. Today was a reprieve for those guys physically, but mentally you still had to be focused. You still had to be present. And it was good. It was a good opportunity for you to just get the things down that they're probably going to call on Saturday so you can play fast.
So, Luke, in a situation like this, if they're off the field, are they in meetings with their meeting rooms for the rest of the day with the position coaches going over the playbook on the iPad and running assignments and all that so everybody is crisp tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's so much football to watch when you look at Sunday through to Thursday that they'll have a ton to go over. They might install a couple plays here and there, right? But I don't think they'll call those plays at any sort of rotational sort of capacity. I think that the plays that they have up to Thursday, those will be the ones that they rep on Saturday. But yeah, this is just because it was a walkthrough does not mean that it was the day off for camp. You still got your meetings, still got to take care of your body, still got to eat right, and be ready to go on Saturday because, again, you're always evaluating, right? This is the longest, most arduous job interview in the world because it never stops.
Dave, you had a chance to catch up with Coach Mace today, and Curtis or Colson and Al, if we have those ready to go, those Mace clips. What's the first one here that we're going to get into with Mace?
Well, after the workout, again, kind of put to him that this is his second training camp, right? So as mentioned that a year ago at this time, we were preparing for a preseason game. That's not the case this go round. So I asked about if year over year, he's where he expected that this group might be.
You know, for the guys returning, just, you know, we kind of hit the ground running with the playbook. They kind of had a full understanding, and it's just really about onboarding the new blood. So now, you know, you can have a call, for example, that we had the same call potentially last year about how they communicated, how they make it look, how crisp it is, the details of it. You know, we're light years ahead of where we were last year at this point. So it's been a pleasure. And yeah, man, I'm pleased with it.
So pleased with where they're at. And of course, Coach Mace, he's talked about how pleased he's been all the way through camp. And so we even asked him to go further. So if you've been pleased, can you pick out a highlight from training camp thus far?
The compete level, man. You know, I was ear hustling over here hearing Trev talk about, you know, the defense has got a bit of the offense and the offense gets a bit of the defense, and he's not wrong. Like it's there's been the compete level is so high that it's not lopsided. You know, it's pretty even from that standpoint, and it's not for a lack of anything on either side. It's just guys are competing their tails off and taking advantage of the opportunities that are presented to them. So I'd say the compete I've just been so happy with. So
liking the compete, right? But now this is where Luke can take us inside the dressing room in just a minute, because the next question is, we've heard about installation. You talked about it, right? Installing more of the playbook. So that's preparation for the season. But obviously there's still an evaluation component that has to happen with training camp because that's the nature of the beast. So what percentage is evaluation and what percentage is preparation? That's what we asked Coach Mace.
It's full go on both. You know, for us as coaches, you know, after practice, we'll go and evaluate the film, and you know, we're looking at the evaluation of the players from that standpoint, and then, you know, we transition right into the install, and it's full go on that as well. So part of the evaluation is the install, to seeing how much the guys can retain and also execute, you know, when bullets are flying. So it's the mental game is important to us. And again, like you know, you guys are gonna get tired of me, but I'm just pleased with everybody that's.
So the question then is there a weighted scale when it comes to evaluation? Is one portion more important than the other? Coach says that everything is being evaluated from the way you handle yourself to what you do on the field. So is something more important than the other?
It's funny. You want to say yes to that, but no. To quote the old 96er, Scott Schmaltz, it's all part of it, right? And Coach Mace isn't lying when he says, like, we're always evaluating. I mean, to the way that you carry yourself waiting for food, to the way you treat the people at the U of S, to the way you treat the trainers, to the way you treat guys like Gordy Gilroy, the hardest working man in showbiz, right? Like, that all plays into, because one of the things that I know, especially with J.O., right, Jeremy O'Day, one of the things that Jeremy O'Day wants to establish, especially culture-wise, he wants good people here. He wants high character players, not just highly talented players. So I think that when you're on campus, when you're outside of your dorm room, you got to be on all the time, right? Because you are always being. But retaining stuff is super important, just because coaches have to trust you. You know, I always talk about it, right? You want to master an ability, make it dependability, right? The coaches have to know that you're going to know where you're going to line, where you need to line up. You're going to do what the play's asking you to do, and you're going to make the play. They have to be able to trust you. I've seen some of the greatest athletes, dudes that look like Achilles themselves, right, with the greatest intangibles, like 6'8", long, 7'2" wingspan, that you're just, you jump out of the gym that you're just like, well, I'm cut, right? I'm going home. There's no way. And you know, there's dumb as this red table here, right? Like, you have to be able to catch on to the playbook. Doesn't matter how talented you are. If the coaches can't trust you, you're not going to be out there. And so a lot of that plays into also the way you carry yourself just on the day-to-day.
So I would love to know, because they already made it, I think to a lot of us, they cut a name we all knew earlier in the week. Noah Zur, gone. I would love to know and be inside those coaches' meetings right now. Who are some other names that we know that were on the team, they're on the bubble? Obviously, we won't until it comes down, but there's guys probably getting pushed for jobs. Maybe, do you think it's on the over-under of we'll never know? Do you think there's more guys in the hot seat or less than this time last year? If we're going year over year, because of all the talent that they've brought in, although we got a great core, guys could stay, could go, less or more than last year.
I'm looking at the roster. It's a really deep roster. I think that I wouldn't say there's bubble guys. And the reason why I say I wouldn't say there's bubble guys is because the talent's sort of spread out. Like, it's all over the field. I just think that if you're not doing what you need to do, this camp especially, there is a guy there that can replace you, but more importantly, there's a guy there that can play multiple positions, right? So I'll give you an example. Like, you know, we drafted Ali Saad, right? Lake Corte Moore was hurt all last year, right? Well, not all last year, but he was hurt for the majority of them, right? Benoit Marion came in, right? Charbel DeBeer also hurt for most of the time, right? So you see Ali Saad getting drafted really high, right? First overall pick for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. You see Benoit Marion coming in here and playing really well. He has a rapport with Coach Mace, right? So you would say to yourself, oh, you know what? Maybe Charbel's on the bubble. But then, you know, if you think about it, you're like, well, wait a second, though. I mean, Charbel can play, right? So does keeping Charbel and keeping Ali Saad, it gives you options, right? And I think that that's probably the biggest thing about this team is, for as deep as they are on paper, I think that this coaching staff is going to have options. So it takes the bubble away a little bit, if you catch what I'm saying, right, Maz? It's not like, oh man, they brought so and so in and this guy, he's potentially going to be replaced. I think that there's a bunch of athletes on the field right now, and with Coach Mace's defense, he's got the opportunity to really be multiple in the way he presents his roster, right? And you look at, for instance, I mean, we haven't heard anything from A.J. Allen, but A.J. Allen's the best special team player in the Canadian Football League, right? But he's stuck in this massive quagmire of talented linebackers across the board. So again, if it was the case of there's a couple good guys here challenging for a roster spot, I think there would be a couple guys on the bubble. I just think that this is a really deep team in camp right now. And if you have a couple bad days in a row, that's not gonna be a good look, because I think not only is there a guy that they can replace you with, there's also a couple guys there that they can swing the whole sort of depth chart around, if that makes sense.
Now, I did receive some breaking news just before we went on the air. I'll get to that in a moment, but I do want to throw two verbs at you: loyalty and trust. Because when we went back to the cuts earlier this week in Winnipeg, Shea Patterson was let go. And you talked about loyalty that Mike O'Shea has towards the guys that he's got on that roster. In Saskatchewan, it's still relatively a new loyalty that is growing, right? Would you suggest that maybe trust is the word? If the coaches believe that they can trust you to do the right thing when it needs to do that, maybe gives you and elevates you on the depth chart, as opposed to loyalty?
Loyalty has a short leash in professional sports. It's a what have you done for me lately business.
Yeah.
Right. Gone are the days, because of the way contracts can be built, are the days of guys playing like 10 years, 13 years for the same organization. Right. I think that at the end of the day, people misconstrue trust as well in professional sports.
Yeah.
Right. Trust in professional sports is different. It's not the, oh man, that guy might call another team. And, trust is like, yeah, I know that this guy's going to do what I need him to do. I know that he's taking care of his body. And I know that when I call, over jet, backside bang, Mo Apples, I know that he knows that he's going to the quarterback no matter what look he gets, because he also knows that there's outside contain if the quarterback ends up keeping it and trying to get it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, okay.
That's trust in this league.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like, oh man, he's everything to us. Right. Like, no, I think that loyalty it has a really short leash. This is a production-based business, and we're trying to win Grey Cups.
Yeah.
Right. Loyalty is for family. Loyalty, you know what I mean? Like, and you'll hear guys, right? Like at some point you'll hear in the huddle, family on three. You only hear that though after camp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You touched on it yesterday, Luke, with Green and White Day coming up tomorrow at Gordie Howe Bowl. Now, for a lot of fans, they've got the cheer team, they've got the merch trailer, you've got Gainer, there's food, there's music. It's an event, it's a game, but there's business on the field. Plays will be made or not made that will determine guys. Do you think even coming into week 2 of camp, do you think that if they don't see tomorrow, there would be moves made because there could be another guy that they can't bring in because of a roster situation?
Yeah, I think there's always the openness to make moves, especially, I mean, Jerry O has proven that too. I mean, there's been times where he's brought in guys in. I think that what's at stake here is reps during the exhibition game. The actual exhibition game. I think that if you go out here and this defense or offense has a set of 12 plays that they're going to run, and those 12 plays have variations based on whatever the defense or offense is seeing, I think that a guy who goes out there and continues to make the same mistakes that he was making in practice, if he goes out there and makes the same mistake that they literally did in walkthrough today 3 times, right, and he still screws up the play, I think that you leave yourself open to just being a guy, because again, does J.O. and Coach Mace want to just, cut people on a dime? Probably not, because you still need camp bodies. But I think that it does cost you in the long run when it comes to just sort of the way they seriously evaluate you, right? You might, there's guys out there today, right, that'll be out there tomorrow that if they make, again, if they're consistently making the same mistake or whatever, it might go from, hey, you had 3 series in the first and second quarters to be evaluated, to like, hey, you're going to play in the last series of the fourth quarter. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And the writing on the wall is pretty evident there. So don't cost yourself reps, right? Get out there and show the team that you're coachable and you know the playbook and you know what to do and you're going to make plays, and that continues to move you forward. And get you more reps and more opportunities. And keep in mind, opportunities is also special teams, right? So don't be the guy, for instance, like Dave, you saw today. They broke down after, right before they stopped. They were going through just your depth chart, right?
Yeah.
Punt return, come out, right? Two punt team. You know, number one field goal, and then you'll go through a couple of like 77's down, right? Oh,
yeah.
Here comes 77. Kicker's down, right? Okay, here comes the right. Like on Saturday, the worst thing that you can do is A, screw up offensively and defensively, but B, have the coach have to find you on special teams.
Yeah.
If the coach has to come and find you on special teams, that's gonna be a problem. I mean, we've already, right? So,
all right, Dave's got breaking news from the Riders.
Oh, yeah. Breaking news. First and foremost, Green and White Day on Saturday, so that's tomorrow, has a little bit of a different change to the lineup for what fans are going to get an opportunity to see. We'll outline that coming up a little bit later on. But here at Red Zone Sports Bar, they just announced all you can eat back ribs on CFL Sundays. So in 3 weeks today, the CFL regular season opens and all you can eat back ribs begin.
CFL Sundays at Red Zone, all you can eat back ribs. It made me try to figure out, like, okay, how many slabs are you able to really put?
Oh, yeah.
Strategically, right? Strategically, if you really want to do some damage, don't get in there and eat the fries, right? Don't get in there and eat the frise. Don't, you know.
The scouting report is out.
Yeah.
What do you got against fries? Like, I like a good bread.
No, nothing. No. Oh, dude, I don't have anything. I love French fries. But if it's all you can eat back ribs, do not take capacity away, right? And space away in your stomach for the fries.
Yeah.
They're going to throw all the fries they can at you. But you want to save room for the good stuff.
Maybe we'll have to get Colson to change the Twitter poll. In an all-you-can-eat back rib situation, how many racks of ribs could you eat at one sitting?
Like Montana's does that, right? Like what Montana's does is they used to have the all-you-can-eat ribs, but they'll throw like tons of cornbread at you, and you know, so you know you're filling up on the Chief stuff, and they're saving on the other side with the premium meat. Yeah, Red Zone, it's an incredible deal. Dave and I realized that there's not a lot of Sunday games on the Rider schedule, so we could probably just divert the Rider plane when we're coming back on a Saturday to Saskatoon and just come in here for breakfast or lunch and dinner.
Luke's running up to the cockpit to be like, "You've got to land this thing now." by 1 p.m. We got to get in there. We will dive a little more into the green and white game, which will happen tomorrow at Gordie Howe Bowl. Luke made a passionate speech yesterday, and it touched a lot of Rider fans and a lot of Rider Nation about having some swag and how we need to approach this year because we're good. We got to start thinking that way. And then I started thinking because I got a few text messages. Even Glenn Suter text after the segment yesterday. I'm sitting at my daughter's. They don't call it a band concert anymore. They call it a fine arts night. It was a glorified band concert. I don't care. There's a new name for it's a fine arts night. Although they did at the opening, the third number they played was "Enter Sandman" by Metallica. So this is a band. Like she plays the flute. So at Fine Arts Night, I get a text from Suits. Hey, sorry, I was passionate. I was all in. I'm like, no, this is great. We'll jump into that because my whole point. No disrespect to the Ottawa Red Blacks, but as a Rider fan, if we beat Ottawa, there's no free spots on the bingo card. It's a little empty. It's hollow. The ones where you feel it, where it's those Bomber games. If we go 3-0 against the Bombers, no reason we shouldn't win the Grey Cup. Then the records don't matter. Come playoff time, we beat the Bombers 3 times. That's it. We're gonna need to win almost every game in the West. If you're gonna lose, it has to be to the East, right? Because it's gonna be a dogfight. So, like you said, we got to respect everybody, and we respect everybody. But the wins that matter, the ones that make you feel. Sorry, Ottawa. Sorry, Hamilton. Just not the same. There's no better feeling, right? I know. But as an Eastern Conference team, there's no better feeling, right? Is there a better feeling than walking out of Labor Day after a win with your chest pumped out after you've beat the Bombers? Now, could you imagine that feeling? Because we got to go there twice. If we go in there and then by Luke, and to this point, you brought it up last year. So when we do play them in the playoffs, that seed of doubt has already crept in. Like, man, we haven't beat these guys all year. What do you think? It's not going to change today. Every time they've got us, every time, it's that seed of doubt that gets planted. Those are the wins that, if we're 3-0 against the Bombers this year, I'd say the Grey Cup's ours. And I 100% agree with you. You were there in February. I was there March 15th, about 7:30 last night at the Fine Arts Night while Metallica's Enter Sandman was playing by the full Grade 8 concert band. Who do I got to talk to about the Riders to get maybe I can get them to play at halftime? I mean, listen, I'm a proud dad. She's super talented, right? We just round everybody up, get them out there. Do we do that?
If they played harmonica, the LA Kings would have been all over that.
All right. Gents, we're going to take a break. Did you guys order nachos? Did I hear that off air? Did you guys order nachos?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're sitting over there.
Yeah. We're going to go and attack them now.
Okay, well, we'll let you get into that. It is the Sports Cage. If there's something you would like to know about training camp from Dave and Luke, Prairie Land Rentals text line 306-936-6262. You can fire off a text and we'll get that to them. The Sports Cage is streaming on our YouTube channel at sportscage.com. You can like and subscribe when you go there. And we're on the radio on the home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 620 CKRM.
Bones. It's Ace.
Ace. It's Bones here.
Ace. It's Ace.
Hey, Ace. Bones here. I see you. It's Bones.
Ace. It's Bones.
Yeah, Ace. I can see you. You're sitting right next to me. It's
Ace.
Bones here. Yeah, Ace.
Ace.
It's Bones.
Welcome back to the
Ace.
Sports Cage.
Ace,
It's Maz in for Barney today. And our next guest on the show on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline, he's the host of Hockey Night in Scottsdale on YouTube with Rob Gucci, a.k.a. Heat Daddy. He's also got his own podcast, The Live in Five, and he's part of the Missing Curfew crew with Scotty Upshaw and Shane O'Brien. Welcome to the Sports Cage. Jay Swish, Jordan Schmaltz. How are you, my man?
Jack of all trades, master of none, fellas. I appreciate you having me on. It's a good Friday here. We got some good hockey on tonight. This Leafs game is going to be crazy, so thanks for having me from Regina, Sask. I always love my Sasky boys.
Okay, and it's funny, I'll mention Sask, because so you're originally from Wisconsin, like the heartland of America, hardworking blue-collar people, farm, sports, Saskatchewan as well. Blue-collar people, we love an honest way of life. We love our football. We love our hockey. We love a good whiskey. And you played for the Sioux City Musketeers and the Green Bay Gamblers in the United States Hockey League, and then you went on to the University of North Dakota. And your head coach there was Dave Hackstall, right?
Yep. Yeah, so my whole family, I'll give you a quick history lesson of the Schmaltz family, is they're all people from Bismarck, North Dakota. My grandpa was one of 18. He grew up on a farm and obviously then had my dad and my uncles. And my mom is originally from Bismarck, North Dakota. So they ended up in Wisconsin because my mom took a residency at the University of Wisconsin. She was a radiologist. So that's how the Schmaltzes, a few of us, ended up in Wisco. And then obviously, you know, I made my way to North Dakota, kind of back to my roots. And that's where I met two guys actually from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, which was Colton Sanderson, one of my roommates.
Yes.
Now working at the university still, and Rhett Gardner as well. So Rhett's still playing with the Philadelphia Flyers organization. And, you know, that's where I developed this fandom for Rider Nation. And those two gentlemen were kind enough to actually gift me with a jersey of a Sasky Riders jersey with my number at the time in college, number 24, and on the back was Pilsner. So that the Riders have always been, I guess, my favorite team in the CFL, and I'm an honorary friend of the show. But you know what, I gotta come clean. I haven't made it to Mosaic Stadium, so I got to get up there for a game. But yeah, I love the Riders. I love Rider Nation, and I've never met a bad dude from Sask. So it's always fascinating to hear people's stories, and I love just the little small town names of everywhere in Saskatchewan. I always get a kick out of it.
Yeah, so Colton Sanderson, Moose Jaw guy, played for the Weyburn Red Wings before he ended up at the University of North Dakota. I was going to ask you about that. And Moose Jaw being about 40 minutes away from Regina. And I love the fact that you know what Rider Nation is. You already own a jersey. You would fit in great. Now, have you ever heard of Pill Country? So that's the one end zone where there's no seats. It's just people drinking whole game. If you're coming to a game, Jay Swish, it's Pill Country only. We're not going to any other section other than there.
Yeah, well, I want to get the full experience, right? Like, I want the Labor Day Classic. I want to take the bus in from Moose Jaw. I want to get into Regina, go to the game, and then, from there, let's see what happens. We'll end up at Earl's. I don't know what's going to happen. But Colton Sanderson, I would always get the old stories of him lighting it up in Weyburn, playing for the famous Dwight McMillan, the coach there. And then, you know what, I've actually had a conversation. I've had Jay Onright on my show before, but, Sandy used to talk about it all the time, was the legendary KFC buffet in Weyburn. It's like, I've never heard of a KFC, especially in the States, having a buffet, but the one in Weyburn allegedly has a buffet style. So I'm going to have to, there's a couple stops when I finally get up there. I got to hit, and, a Rider game and the KFC buffet in Weyburn are definitely two staples.
Okay, so Troy Stetcher, who you played with also at the University of North Dakota, since the Oilers have inserted him in the lineup, I mean, dude's been a dog. Was he always like that, even back in college?
Yeah, so Stetch was a freshman my sophomore year. So the 2 years we spent together, because I signed after my junior year with the St. Louis Blues, Stetchy was just one of our staples on the blue line, a penalty killer, a good role defenseman. I'd say he was probably a 5 or a 6, just a pit bull. But I always knew his competitive level was off the charts. And he's just one of those guys where, he's small in stature, but he never loses a foot race. He competes on the puck. He'll take hits. He's truly just a pit bull. And, when he gets into that lineup with the Oilers, I mean, people might be like, oh, what are they doing? Why are they putting Stetcher in over Emerson? Or, you can make the case he might be too small, but it's been the same story. And even every year he gets counted out, but he does the job. You see him going there in the game there in Game 4 and just quiet things down for Darnell Nurse. And then obviously they close him out in 5 and just giving stability to Darnell Nurse. And I think the biggest thing with Stetch is, especially for a guy like Nurse, when he can just manage them. He just, let's play hard defensively. He raises your compete level, and then everything else is just such a simple game. So I think it was such a good move by Chucky Knobloch to bring him in just to stabilize Nurse. And he knows the first thing and the most important thing we have to do is defend. And that's what Stetch does so well, even though he's undersized. And if fans watching out there, you watch him, I tell this to everyone that watches the game, and especially watching him, is he never loses a first touch on a dump puck. He goes back for pucks like I've never seen before, like a kamikaze. And sometimes he wears big hits, but he doesn't care. He pops right back up, and somehow he always ends up on the right side of the battle. So I really like what he's done, but it's no surprise for me. I've seen that since his first couple of days on the University of North Dakota campus. He's just a bulldog, man.
We're chatting with Jordan Schmaltz, Jay Swish, on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline here on the SportsCage. You mentioned you were part of the Blues organization. You played some games. Some other Sasky guys then come into your orbit. You got Braden Shen and Jaden Schwartz. What was your time like with the Blues over those 3 years where you played some games with them?
Yeah, so I was a high pick. I was a first-round pick, signed 3 years out of North Dakota, went to the minors. They had a really good team. They had a good blue line, obviously. Alex Pietrangelo. They had Shattenkirk at the time. Colton Parayko had just signed. Ivan Drogba, as I call him. And then they had Robert Bortuzzo. So the right side was pretty logjam. So I would, get called up. There wasn't a ton of opportunity there for me, and especially the way I played, power play and wanted to be a skill guy in that sense. So it was hard just to kind of find my way. And, a lot of times I found myself when I was up, I was out of the lineup or playing limited minutes. But the two best guys that were there were the Sasky guys. And that's obviously,
nice.
Braden Shen was there my second or third year. Schwartzy was there from the get-go, a college guy, someone I could go to and kind of lean on and ask different questions, always so friendly. And then ultimately they brought in Tyler Bozak, too, who is another Saskatchewan guy. So, those guys is in the locker room, obviously very colorful, very good storytellers and hardworking guys. I mean, Braden Shen for me is still one of my favorite players of all time to watch. Just the way he can do everything. He can fight, he can score, he can hit, and he's the captain. It's just, he's a utility player, man. He's a dying breed. Even a guy before, just watching him in the league before he got to St. Louis, he was always one of my favorites. And when Doug Armstrong got that trade, I don't know how he did it. He absolutely fleeced whoever at the time was, I think it was Ron Hextall. And he was able to get Jenner for, Yori Laterra and some picks. I was like, oh my God, okay, we definitely got something brewing here. And then obviously acquired Ryan O'Reilly, and the rest is history. But yeah, I mean, Schenner to this day, like I've gone to St. Louis a couple times. I've done some live shows there in the last few years, and he's the first guy to go grab a beer with or dinner. Him and Binnington, but Schenner he's the glue man. He's the reason why they were where they were this year in the playoffs, and just fell one game short to Winnipeg.
So when the hockey career comes to an end, then all of a sudden, I don't know if it was all of a sudden, but it seems that way. I discovered you're now you're an influencer, you're a personality, you're a social media star. You do an incredibly funny live stream called Hockey Night in Scottsdale on YouTube with your partner in crime, Rob Gucci, aka Heat Daddy. Today I saw you guys were live in a swimming pool, just setting the stage for the weekend. So where does this all come from to be like, let's do a live stream sitting on the couch in Scottsdale and talk hockey and just like do a Manning cast, but hockey guy style?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always been the personality in the locker room, and obviously when you're playing over here and you're trying to climb the ranks to the NHL, and you know how buttoned up it is, especially an organization like St. Louis where it's pretty old school, and you don't want to be the loud guy, and you can't come in off the top rope, especially if your playing resume doesn't back it up to that point. So I was always that guy that was loud or trying to be the funniest guy in the room per se inside the locker room, but wasn't able to kind of showcase my personality, nor was I a good enough player for people to really realize that. So the cat was kind of kept in the bag at that point. And then I went over to Helsinki, Finland. I played a year there. I played a year in Switzerland. I had a back concussion. And that's when I realized, you know what, like, I don't know how much longer I want to really play. I was able to get myself healthy after about 8 months of rehab. And I was like, you know what, I'm good on the playing side. I've always wanted to do something in entertainment, whether it was podcasting, broadcasting, or something like I'm doing now with Hockey Night in Scottsdale, where it's kind of everything in between, a YouTube series of live shows. We'll do podcasts, we'll do vlogs, we'll go live from the pool like we did today, just different creative things where, you can be raw, real, uncut, but at the same time articulate and, talk hockey in a sense of, from a playing background and, something that people would really latch on to. So it's my second year of doing it. The Heat Daddy, he's obviously been a Twitter personality for years. He's a local Scottsdale guy now. He's from New York, but's lived down here since his days at ASU. So I'd always see him out. Like if, you're out in Scottsdale, especially over the last 10 years, not so much anymore, but before that, the Heat Daddy was out in the mix. The guy was out 6 nights a week. So that's kind of where we formed our friendship. We're like, let's do something with this. And yeah, man, it's been a ton of fun. We're still obviously trying to grow it every day, turn it into something really big. And it's been a lot of fun. And I think we just bring a different light to hockey. I try to be real, just be myself. And you know what? I think it's been a lot of fun, and that's something I just try to combine that humor, that comedy with a little bit of knowledge of the game, and people seem to like it, at least people that watch it, and we're just trying to branch out. But it's a lot of fun. We have a ton of fun coming up with different stupid ideas. How to get creative with different content pieces for sure.
Well, one of the reasons why I like it, not only is it kind of funny and you guys, like to, poke a finger in the ribs, but when it comes to time to actually talk hockey, you can talk hockey just like the guys on TV, but it's not stiff. It's just guys talking sports, which I think is great. But right now, the Carolina Hurricanes and their fans absolutely hate you. You're just being honest. They're not the most exciting team to watch, right? I don't think you're saying anything that we all haven't said, but man, they're coming at you pitchforks. And hard. Oh,
I mean, they're the team account. These guys punched their ticket to the Eastern Conference Final. And who are they throwing a hit piece out to? The People's Insider, yours truly, Jay Swish. Like, I'm in their kitchen like Bobby Flay right now. Like, guys, You just won. You just closed out Washington, the President's Trophy winners, and you're thinking about the peoples? Come on, baby. Go enjoy it. You don't got to be thinking about me, but we had Pierre Maguire on it earlier in the week, and he was talking about how Rod Brindamore obviously played for Jacques Lemaire early in his career in New Jersey. And he's like, these guys, these Carolina Hurricanes, they resemble a lot of the 95, 96 Devil style with Jacques Lemaire. I'm like, yeah, I know. They're boring, but it works, and they're winning games. So I don't know why their fans are so insecure about what other people think when it clearly works for their team. I never said they weren't good. I just said I didn't like watching them play, and that's my personal opinion, and you can go tell me to pound sand. I don't really care. I just don't like to watch them. And these people are just coming at me. I'm like, guys, just be thankful where you're at. Like, don't.
I know.
My opinion should mean nothing to you. You know, it's so funny. So, yeah, I'm definitely stirring the pot with the people down in Raleigh. But you know what? I like being right in the mix because all press is good press, baby, unless you're OJ.
All right, so we just got about 90 seconds left. I want to ask you about Florida and Toronto tonight, and then your pick for the Cup. So Florida, Toronto, do the Panthers close out the Leafs, and then does the dynamite come to the Leaf core four?
I would say this is going to show everything that the Leafs are made of, and you know what? It kind of just feels like the end of a boys' trip, and that's what I said today when we were sitting in the pool with Hockey Night in Scottsdale. Doesn't it just feel like it's 3 a.m. and everyone's sitting around the campfire listening to Oasis Wonderwall, and you're like, should we go to bed or should we just stay up and kind of ride this out and just all be sad right now because we're not going to see each other maybe ever again, or at least for a couple years. And it just seems like that's their attitude right now with the Leafs, where it's like Marner's going to be gone. Who knows what's going to go on with Tavares? We're just kind of waiting for this thing to end. And it's going to show a lot about their character. Are they going to just roll over and do what everyone thinks is going to happen and just lose this game, and that's it for the core four, or do they show fight and win tonight and force a Game 7 back in Toronto? I don't know. I really hope that the Leafs win just for their team's sake. I have a lot of friends on that team, but I truly don't know. Like, if I was a betting man, I'm saying Florida's winning tonight, and that's all she wrote for Marner and the boys. But you know what? I've been wrong before, so we'll see. But if I'm a betting man, I'm taking Florida at home, and they can smell the blood. And I just think Toronto, for whatever reason, man, I don't know. They don't seem to raise their competitive level in the toughest times, and they're not giving me any reason to believe that they're gonna. So that's my honest opinion.
Jay Swish, last question here, real quick. Who's your pick to win the Cup?
The Edmonton Oilers. And just what they have, nothing makes sense with their team. Skinner comes back-to-back shutouts. I don't think he's ever done that in his career. Then you got McDavid just absolutely raising the bar. Their middle six looks good. It's just Chucky Knobloch pulling all the right strings, inserting Stetcher and making different moves. It's just these guys, when you got two of the best players in the world, it's hard to beat. I even said that in that LA series with on missing curfew. It's like, even they got down 2-0. I'm like, you'd never bet against the best player in the league and in the world at this time, and arguably maybe he'll go down as the best player of all time when it's all said and done. I don't bet against that guy. When he sees red, Draisaitl the same way. They got that Kobe, that MJ-like fire, and I just think, you know what, they're going to be well rested. They're probably going to get Dallas. It's going to be a tougher series, but they got through Vegas in 5. They're feeling good. I got the Edmonton Oilers, and I love oil country, so I'm loyal to the oil.
All right. Jordan Schmaltz, thank you for this. I hope we can do this again. This was awesome. He just hasn't, he's part of Rider Nation, just hasn't been to a game yet. That's even better. Jay Swish on social media. All right, it's time to take a break here on the Sports Cage. When we come back, we will do a sports ticker. We're going to dive into what's happening tonight, not only in the NHL, but the Centennial Cup, the Melfort Mustangs. It's semifinal Friday at the Max Bell Arena in Calgary. We'll do that next. It's the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM. It's quarterfinal Fridays at the Centennial Cup in Calgary. The Melfort Mustangs taking on the Sudbury Cubs. With a win, they will move on to the semis tomorrow to play either the Trenton Golden Hawks or the Calgary Canucks. Face-off here goes in about 5 minutes' time. Western Hockey League final tonight. You've got the Medicine Hat Tigers and the Spokane Chiefs. It's Game 5. Tigers are up 3-1. Probably no Gavin McKenna. Maybe a Caden Lindstrom. We don't know, but they can wrap the series tonight, and then it's off to the Memorial Cup. And then one game in the NHL tonight. It's do or die for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Game 6, it's Leafs in Florida to take on the Panthers. With a win, the Panthers move on to the Eastern Conference Final against Carolina. Face-off tonight goes just after 6 o'clock. Hour number 2 of the show. Thanks for being part of it. It's Maz in for Barney today. We got Farhan Lalji in about 25 minutes' time. The Vancouver Canucks and a brand new head coach that's got to sort out those issues. Adam Foote, you have a tall task ahead of you. I also want to ask Farhan, apparently when John Tortorella was head coach, he put a Murphy bed in the Canucks dressing room, and it's still there to this day. Or the office is still there. So was Torts napping on the job? I already like the guy. I think this makes me love him even more. Hey, if you missed any part of hour 1 of the show, you can always go back and catch the podcast on Apple or Spotify or at sportscage.com. Thanks to Jordan Schmaltz, Jay Swish on social media for joining us. What a beauty. From North Dakota, originally from Wisconsin, played in the NHL. He knows Sasky. He's already it's part of Rider Nation, has a jersey because of his teammates at the University of North Dakota. Sasky guys. I think the line of the interview, let's bring in David Luke, because Luke's delivered some zingers before. I haven't known Luke all that long, just a little over a year, but he's delivered some zingers. But I think the best part of that interview is when he had said, because the Carolina Hurricanes and their fans are after this Jay Swish, and he said, listen, I'm in your kitchen like Bobby Flay. And I'm like, that's nice. That's a nice line. That's worth using again.
I'll let you use it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have like a go-to. Like,
No?
no. I had one friend who was really like, I have one friend who's automatic with it.
Yeah.
Like, he'll be like, man, you're such an a-hole, and he'll be like, yeah, well, at least I'm not a whole A. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just be like, wait a minute. Damn it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. I actually had a coach tell me, you're not smart enough to trash talk, so just play the game.
Yeah, totally. You know, coaches will absolutely ruin your self-esteem.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I remember one time I told one of my coaches, I'm like, I screwed up a play, and I come off the field. I'm like, man, I just thought this, and he's like, stop thinking you're hurting the club.
Well, okay, so there's that Ella Langley, who's blowing up in country music. She's got that song, You Look Like You Love Me. She won a bunch of CMA awards a few weeks ago or whatever. She's like the hottest thing going. One of the songs on her new album, and I have it on a playlist, if you're going to be done, the saying is, and this must be a Southern, I've never heard this expression before. Maybe it's a Southern expression. If you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. And the whole song is about that, about this guy telling you about, like, if you're going to be a dummy, you better be tough, because you're going to have to eventually back this up. Luke Mullinder, Dave Thomas, Red Zone Sports Bar, behind the Travel Lodge in Saskatoon. Training camp continues. A little bit of an abbreviated walkthrough today, not the full-on, all-out 2 hour and some today, because it's Green and White Day tomorrow. Mark Habicht will join us in about an hour's time from the Riders to talk more about this. But one of the most intriguing things is Trevor Harris, the quarterback, Jack Cohn, the quarterback, coming back, but in the middle, you've got a Tommy Stevens and a Jake Mayer. So a lot of change in that quarterback room, and we're curious. We're going to hear from Jack Cohn in just a sec. Luke, outside of Trevor Harris, the other three, your assessment, what you've seen in the first week of camp.
Well, I think that Jake Mayer spent some time just trying to sort of get his bearings, but he's looked decent. Haven't had a problem with him at all. I think that my favorite quarterback has been Jack Cohn. I think that Trevor Harris has been as cerebral as possible, right? He's come out here, took him a couple days, I felt, to really sort of get his feet on the ground too. But now he's starting to throw darts again, like we would expect. But it's been Jack Cohn. I've really enjoyed watching Jack Cohn. I think that he's improved a lot of his like mechanics. Just like, I'm not a quarterback, right? Coach, right? But like, I remember last year. Do you remember this, Dave? I turned to Dave and I was like, man, watch Cohn in these drills. And he was always like a millisecond behind mechanically. the other behind the other quarterbacks. And this year, there's no difference. He's right there, and I think that as he continues to progress, he's clearly a smart guy. Remember, we saw him last year in limited action, played really well, made some really tight throws. I feel like the way he played against, I think it was Calgary when he got his opportunity, I feel like that was pretty much the decision maker on Shea Patterson. Like, we can go, you know what I mean? Shea had struggled in action that he had done. So I've really enjoyed watching him. I think I would take him over Tommy Stevens in a heartbeat. Again, I think Tommy Stevens is dude, this guy's a monster, right?
Oh, he's
like
huge.
Rudy Gobert walking
big
around,
man,
you know, like he's a big dude, and you can see why he's just unstoppable in the third down situation. But in my mind, I'm like, you know, do you keep a quarterback around just for third down? Now, the shining light here, or the positive, like, this team has kept 4 quarterbacks before. So there might not be any decision on the 4 quarterbacks they have in here. I've really enjoyed watching Jack Cohn get better.
What I thought was intriguing for me is, of course, the Saskatchewan Roughriders went out and got Jake Maier, right? They made the trade for them. So obviously there was an investment in ensuring that he was coming to Riderville, and the familiarity with Mark Mueller that him and both Tommy Stevens had, while not maybe formally working within his offense, they worked with him. So there was that familiarity that was already built in. And I wondered how that was going to translate very early in camp, if Jake Maier and Tommy Stevens would leapfrog up, right? But I'm not suggesting that they've fallen or stumbled in any way. But I would submit that Jack Cohn has also upped his game.
I totally agree with you. I think that the best sort of compliment we can give Jack Cohn is saying, like, all of those quarterbacks look about the same.
Yep.
Right?
You're right. And that's
there's
good.
TH7, and then there's the rest of the game.
Exactly. And as a fan, that makes me feel better going, okay, so you've got Trevor Harris, obviously 1. 2, probably Maier, but Stevens, because he's coming out of whatever anybody wants to say about Dickinson and Huff, they're a quarterback factory, and they have been for 2 decades. You can't take that away. But the fact
No.
Cohn,
Yeah, Huff is the guy that produced the quarterback factory.
Sure. Yeah. But if you're saying that Cohn is now closed the gap, and there's 3 of them, and they're all they each have their days, but there's not a glaring gap there, I think is great for Rider fans, that no matter who's in there when Trevor Harris isn't, that this is a good spot. And Dave, you actually had a chance to catch up with Jack Cohn here. I think we have this gents, Colson and Al, if we have this interview ready to go.
Tell me, Jack, your impressions of training camp so far. You're second as a Saskatchewan Roughrider.
Yeah, it's been great so far. I mean, it's just great to be back with this group of guys. I mean, I missed them all off season. Just a great culture around here, from the coaches to the players. And I just feel like compared to last year, you know, personally, I'm a lot more comfortable with the offense, having just that 1 year of experience being here. And I just think in general, the level of play here is, you know, way higher than it was last year at this time. Whether it's been like 5 days or something through camp, and I just feel like compared to day 5 this year, day 5 last year, I feel like offensively and defensively we're way ahead of where we were last year.
Have you found the game slowing down at all? A lot of athletes will say, I'm more comfortable when I get to that point where everything seems to slow down in front of me.
Absolutely. I think that experience has just helped me a ton. I mean, I'm super comfortable with the playbook now, so I'm not really getting up to the line and thinking about, you know, where a receiver is going to be. I just kind of know like the back of my hand at this time. And then and defensively as well, I understand defenses a little bit more and what they're trying to do, different rotations and what problems they can cause. So just feel like the experience I have, you know, learning last year has helped me a ton.
You had that experience in that last game, and you earned the opportunity for playing time. What did you take away from that, and how much did you use that in the offseason?
Yeah, it was great for me to just really get the speed of the game again, because, you know, all I really did was practice all year, and once you get in the game, it's a little bit of a different speed and kind of just makes you see if, you know, you still got it or not. And I feel like I was able to see some things, then maybe some other stuff that, you know what, I didn't trust it quite enough and I could have ripped it or things like that. So just kind of getting the speed of the game and the flow and your vision of everything, I think that was the biggest thing for the game.
In the offseason, the club brings in 2 veteran quarterbacks. What did that say to you, and what does that change anything, if anything at all?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have a very deep QB room here. I understand everyone's experience and things like that, but at the end of the day, I'm here to compete and, obviously learn from these guys as well because they have so much experience, and really just focus on myself and try to do the best I can.
So fans, we don't understand that dynamic because you want to earn the job and you're trying to do that against someone that you work with every day that you're trying to learn from. Can you explain how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I think it's just a great group of guys. So, I mean, if they came in and were terrible people, I think I'd feel a lot differently. But they're a great group of guys, and it's really fun being around them, eating lunch with them, being in meeting rooms with them. And like I said, I mean, whether it's Trevor or Jake or Tommy, they have a lot of experience in this league. So it's good for me to, talk to them about different things and watch them work and see the way they see things a little bit. But at the end of the day, you really just focus on yourself and try to do the best you can do and see what happens from there.
So when you assess your play thus far, what have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've taken a step from last year. I think I've gotten better from last year and really just try to take it play by play and day by day and just do my job on each play. Don't worry about what anyone else does and just compete my hardest.
Seems like you've got some pretty good chemistry as well with the receivers. Dante Myers, for example, you two seem like you know what each other's going to do before you do it. How does that come about?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Dante is an amazing player, just super explosive, and even a guy like him, he's just second year in this offense. He knows it super well, and it's a bunch of those guys. I mean, any of the receivers I feel comfortable with now, and even my rookie class, all the guys that came in together, it seems like a very good class to just be a part of.
Well, it's a pretty good class that's out on the field. We wish you all the best with it. Thanks for this.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's Jack Cohen in conversation at training camp. He mentioned Dante Myers. And Luke, I noticed that you did one of your car conversations, which to me was one of the best parts of training camp. You do a really good job of that. So there's Dante Myers, because we don't know a lot about him. I mean, we saw him come on and flash in training camp last year, well in the preseason, then gets hurt, eventually makes his way onto the roster, gets hurt again. So who is this kid? Like, where is he from? What's he about? What do you like about him?
Dante Myers, I asked him today on Car Chronicles, actually. I said, if there was a movie that was made about your life, like, what would it be called? And he said it would be called Undersized. Yeah. And I think he plays with a chip on his shoulder. We were talking a little bit about sort of his career and being kind of counted out because of his size. I'm not saying he's the next Weston Dressler, but it was a similar sort of deal, right? Small guy. But I think the biggest difference, and especially the reason why he's sticking out in camp, is his knowledge of the game right now, right? He's playing fast, and you only play fast when you're not thinking out there. And when the reason you're not thinking in training camp is because you know everything that you need to be doing, everywhere you're supposed to be going, the plays in and out. So that's been a big difference for him. I think that you can tell this is a year 2 guy that's ready to dominate, and hopefully he does, because this team needs a guy of his skill set with Sean Bain not being around for a stretch.
And there's definitely been some chemistry between Dante and Jack Cohen. And if I go back to that conversation for a moment, one thing struck me as soon as he said it to me. I heard it again, and now I've heard it again. And that one thing is he was alluding to that game against Calgary, where he wanted to go out there and see if he still had it. Like, how difficult would that have been, for a guy that, he was at Notre Dame. Like, he played a lot of high top-end football, to say that I had to go see if I still had it.
That is the NFL CFL journey in a nutshell. Is you come out of college and you're one of the best players on your team in college. Every single guy on the Riders training camp roster right now was the guy at his school. Every single guy. It's why I hate when people are like, "Oh man, he's no good," and this guy's no. That guy was literally one of the best players on his team. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been here. He was the guy. So you go from being the guy to coming out and being in a whole locker room, 100 top guys, right? And a lot of them play your position. And in order to get a solid roster spot, you just have to sit there and wait for your opportunity, your window to open. And the window only opens a little bit when it does open. It cracks open. You have to be willing to kick that thing open, and you have to then fend off everybody that also wants to jump through that window with you. Mm-hmm. Right? That's That's pro football in a nutshell. That's why I say all these reps are a bar of gold, because you really don't know when your opportunity is going to hit. It may be because of injury. It may be because they need a different they just throw you out there. Hey, we need the next. Get out there, and all of a sudden you don't know what you're doing, but you go and make a jump ball and then oh, you know what? We need to look at this guy a little bit closer, right? Like, you never know where your opportunity is, and sometimes you got to wait. Especially the quarterback. Sometimes you got to sit there and wait for your opportunity, and the more you wait, the less you're playing. Right? You look at Nathan Rourke, for instance, right?
Yeah.
He went down the NFL. One of the things that we were saying is he's not going to just come to the CFL again and light it up. He really hasn't taken any meaningful snaps in the last 2 years, right? So you're a quarterback and you're waiting for this opportunity. And while you're waiting, you're not getting any reps. And that's why I think that comment comes out. Man, I wanted to see if I still had it again, because waiting for the opportunity is a lot different than just being on the team, and right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And sorry, Maz, just to complete the thought on that entire process, you notice there was no excuse, because if you go back to that game last year against Calgary, let's look at the preparation week, because the Rough Riders still had an opportunity to finish first in the West, right? And so that week of preparation, Trevor Harris took first team reps. Second team reps were split between Jack Cohn and Shea Patterson, and the anticipation, I would have assumed with the way that the reps were split, was that Shea Patterson was going to get the first half if Trevor Harris wasn't playing. Instead, Shea Patterson got 2 series and it was Jack Cohn the rest of the way. I'm not saying he wasn't prepared. I'm just saying he didn't get what typically a starter would get to get prepared.
You don't get a warning.
No.
You don't get someone tapping you in the shoulder and being like, hey, by the way, a couple games from now, it's going to be your time. Nobody says that. You just listen, you're one injury away. You're one play away from having to be there and be a difference maker. But on the other side of that too, I remember one of the greatest thing I ever did in my career was I read this book called Mind Gym. Athletes, if you're out there and you're readers, even if you're not a reader, go get this book called Mind Gym. The author escapes me at the moment, but it basically taught me how to actually truly look at the things that I could control, right? And it goes the other way too. I remember hearing young guys, especially in camp, being like, "Oh man, I only got 5 plays this scrimmage. I only got 3 plays," and my mindset had flipped by then. And I remember stopping one of the guys and being like, "Well, if you got 5 plays, is that the way you looked at them? Right? Did you really sit there and bitch about that only getting 5 plays, or were those 5 plays the greatest 5 plays that this coaching staff has ever seen from your film?" Were those 5 plays just plays that made you absolutely untouchable? Or did you sit there and be like, man, I'm not playing as much as I want to the whole time? Did you take 5 reps being like, I'm not getting the ball? Or did you explode off the line of scrimmage? What did you do?
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I was glad but that's the situation. That's pro football. You never know when you're going to get the opportunity. Sometimes your opportunity is going to be 30 reps. Sometimes it's going to be 2 reps. What did you do with it?
To put a bow on the quarterback conversation, out of the 4, who has the strongest arm? Is it Mayer?
That's
a good
great question.
I haven't really seen. I don't think it's got. First of all, the sheer size and length of Tommy Stevens. It's got to be Tommy Stevens. Like, physically, I find it would be impossible for it not to be Tommy Stevens. But I don't think anybody's really come out here and had that rocket arm, right?
No, I'm with you. I think that everyone's made the throws that they have to make. I don't think that's not a concern, right?
That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Can you make the throws, and can you make them accurately? Yeah. Can you navigate the pocket? Yeah. Like, again, I always go back to this. I feel bad, like, because I actually really liked him. But Michael Bishop had an amazing arm.
Yeah.
Right.
Gosh.
Yeah.
The best arm you've ever seen, but he couldn't read a defense, couldn't remember any plays, couldn't remember any adjustments. Right. So, like, what did that get him? You know what I mean? You had a tank of an arm, but you didn't know where to put it. And by the way, when you did throw it, you missed.
Exactly. Luke, just by mentioning his name, you brought up a lot of PTSD for Rider Nation that's listening or watching the SportsCage right now, because, I said, dude, could throw a mile. And
what do you mean PTSD?
Nobody.
I was there in 08. I was there in 08. It ain't PTSD, man. This is real life. Hey, man, man, listen. That 08 team, to this day, that 08 team was better than the 07 team.
Wow.
Except for one position, the stupid quarterback position. And we had doubles sitting there in the organization.
Yeah.
And we went with Michael Bishop in the playoff game. And I had to sit there in the warm-up and listen to the BC DBs frolicking around while they were warming up and just yelling at us, he's just going to throw it to us. We're just going to sit there and wait for him to throw it to us. And what did he do? He threw it to him.
Nice. All right.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
This is
team that was better than our 07 championship team lost that game because of one position when we had doubles sitting there. I get pretty mad about this.
Okay, this is the best part. This is the best part about Luke is because sometimes we peel back a few layers and out comes the passion. So we like it. We got it yesterday. We got it today. And I think we're in on something. We'll continue that conversation. We'll take a break. And we got Farhan Lalji from TSN standing by. Training camps going on around the CFL, and the Canucks are a mess. They think they maybe have figured out. We'll ask Farhan that next. This is the Sports Cage. We're streaming our show on YouTube. Hey, if you're there anyways, you watching shorts, you watching music, you watching the new Eric. You been watching that new Eric Church video on YouTube? I know I have. It's pretty good. Eric's got a little weird over the past couple of years, but I think I'm back in. Give us a like and a subscribe when you're there. And also, we're on the radio, on the home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, where the preseason will start next Saturday against those Winnipeg Blue Bombers, right here on 620 CKRM. To say that the Vancouver Canucks were a bit of a mess, I would say it was a huge understatement. But NHL coaching jobs are very rare, and they're hard to come by. So if you're Adam Foote and they say, hey, listen, would you like to try and steer this club going forward? He said, yes, they signed this. I like this signing. Farhan, what about you? New coach of the Canucks, Adam Foote.
Well, we'll see, right? I mean, when you look at the resume, it's not long. We certainly know that Adam Foote's resume as a player was extensive and very, very good. You know, he's had a season and a half in the Western Hockey League as a head coach before coming to Vancouver. And, you know, the time in Kelowna with the Western League team didn't go necessarily that well when they were hosting the Memorial Cup that year. And then he's had 2.5 seasons behind the Canucks bench as an assistant. Everything he's done prior to that was on the development side, not necessarily as a bench coach. Did a bit of that in Colorado. And Adam Foote's a good guy, and I wish him all the best, and I hope it works out for him. But, you know, it kind of came down to him and Manny Malhotra, who's been in the organization as well and probably has a little bit longer of a coaching resume, but neither of them have been NHL head coaches. And then also Mitch Love, who is in Washington right now as an assistant, just had his season wrapped up. And so he was also one of the finalists after the 7 formal interviews. So thin pool, right, you would say, and a lot of work to be done here in Vancouver. We'll see if Adam's up to the task.
Was this done more to appease Hughes and be like, well, Hughes likes him, and so if this kind of keeps him here, like, is it a stopgap Band-Aid? Because originally that's what I thought from the outside. If this is just to appease Hughes, you have to. He's your best player.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, right? And I don't know that that both Foote and Patrick Allvin, the general manager, said yesterday they didn't talk to Hughes during the hiring process. The last time Hughes was spoken to, allegedly, was when Jim Rutherford spoke to him right after Rick Tocchet decided to leave. But certainly a guy like Adam Foote would have Hughes' stamp of approval. He did say at one point that he's the best coach he's ever been around, certainly giving him a lot of credit for his own personal development, along with the improvement of the Canucks defense overall. And you've got to give Adam Foote credit for a lot of that. But there's so many other problems that you've got to deal with. So I think that's part of it. But I think this is an organization that didn't want to get rid of Rick Tocchet, right? I mean, they offered him a lot of money. And, ultimately wasn't necessarily as much as what he's getting in Philly, but it still would have made him arguably one of the top 5 coaches in the league. So it wasn't necessarily a money thing. So I think from a Canucks standpoint, by keeping Foote, you get some continuity and some familiarity with the players in the building, and it doesn't feel like you have to start over again.
Now, I know a lot of times when a coach will leave, all the assistants go or the assistants aren't brought back. And you'd mentioned continuity. Are there going to be other coaches that were working on the Tocchet team that are going to stick around with Foote? Have you heard anything, or all TBD?
Yeah, I think they sounded like Yogi Slavkovsky, who is their skills coach and then promoted to assistant coach. They'd like to keep him in some capacity. Probably makes more sense to keep him in the skills coach capacity if you want to get some experience in for the forwards and for the D. So we'll see what that looks like. Sergei Gonchar was kind of a part-time guy. So I think they were finding previously that it wasn't working in a part-time capacity. Will they keep that? I don't know. They haven't written it off. So I could see Gonchar winding up in Vancouver or in Philadelphia potentially, in that part-time capacity. I'm not sure if it worked here, but I think the organization would like to put some experience around Adam Foote, but Adam's got to be comfortable with whoever they bring in, right? Like they can't decide his staff for him. He's got to be involved in that. So, I think that'll be a part of it.
You're a sports journalist working for TSN in Vancouver, and we have a giant country. And you would think, well, every spot should have, its own chance to shine. But for the past 48 hours, the overarching story across this country, and especially hockey, is the potential demise of the Toronto Maple Leafs from coast to coast. And it's a movie we've all seen before. And tonight, it's going to be Game 6. Oh, you're cheering for that because it's a juicy story. Do you think tonight the Florida Panthers will finally put a pin in the core four and all of this and just put it out of its misery?
Yeah, I think so. It's a fragile group. They showed that in the last game. They've shown that in this series. And this will be the biggest acid test / indictment you could possibly come up with, right? Because if they can take this back to a Game 7 in Toronto, and potentially win, every question will be answered, right? And they'll be exalted again. And if they lose, a 4-game collapse here is something they'll never live down. So is it the end for Mitch Marner? Probably. Is it the end for Brendan Shanahan? Quite possibly. Contractually, probably not for Austin Matthews and, or John Tavares, who just wants to stay there regardless of what the numbers look like. So, it's a huge night. It is a huge night. And look, I'm not a fan of most Toronto teams, but certainly not this one or the Blue Jays because they garner way too much oxygen. I'm a fan of the Canadian Football League, which means I want Canadian hockey teams out of it at this time of year so we can pay attention to the CFL. So I would love nothing more than for this story to repeat itself and for the Leafs to lose tonight. It's crazy, isn't it? Like just so much heartbreak over and over before this core four, since the core four, right? Like if you're a Toronto fan, you've got to think, what do we need to do? Well, you got your basketball championship, so you might have to settle for that for a while.
I had thought the meltdown is not official. This was the other night until I see my first video of a jersey being burned in a fire pit. And it was 20 minutes after the game. I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'm officially on full Leafs meltdown. I mean, you have to give Florida credit. They're relentless. They're playing the right way. Paul Maurice is a smart guy. Everybody's bought in. They've got spare parts playing on those third and fourth lines, and they're coming through, and they're huge. And this leads me into, we talk about McDavid and Draisaitl, but the Oilers knock off Vegas. Now, keep in mind, if this was the Vegas Golden Knights from January and February, I think it's a really different series, but it's not. It was the Vegas Golden Knights where the wheels seem to fall off in the past 3 weeks. They win, but they get through to the Western Conference Final again. Were you surprised that they could do it kind of? It wasn't without McDavid and Draisaitl, but not as heavy as it usually is.
I was, but I'm also surprised at some of the top players on the Vegas lineup and just how they completely disappeared in this series, right?
Yeah.
And you talked about the wheels falling off and not having Mark Stone, but just the players they did have weren't the players they should have been. And I know everybody's dealing with something, and that happens at this time of year. And there's certainly a lot of stories in Vegas about just how severe the injuries were. But you've got to give the Oilers credit, right? You've got to give Stuart Skinner credit, and I don't know that Vegas really tested him, right? So we'll see what happens in the next round. But when I'm always a believer that momentum never carries in the playoffs. Right? Like if the Leafs win tonight, despite winning 6-0, now it would say a lot about the Leafs in terms of character that many of us don't believe they have, but generally teams can recover from performances like that. that decision in game 3, or was it game 3 or game 4, when Jim Hiller, called for the goalie interference penalty and they didn't get it, and the series completely turned. And they've been able to carry that momentum through the rest of that round and this round, right? So the depth that Edmonton has, which we didn't see a lot of during the regular season, we're now seeing it now, right? And Evander Kane coming back, has helped flesh out their top 6, and he's done some great things for them as well. But just the overall depth that they're playing with, their D right now is better than at any point in last year's playoffs in my mind. And Ekholm is probably coming back in this series, right? So they potentially could only get better. So you got to give the Oilers credit, and I am surprised that the Knights went as meekly into the night as they did.
Yeah. I was thinking the other night, because now Oiler fans are very passionate, but they're also very judgmental. So let's say they do win the cup for a little penance.
Let's not.
Just listen to me. Just listen. The first 20 minutes of the Stanley Cup parade is just Darnell Nurse by himself in a convertible. That's all you get. Everybody has to apologize before the team or the trophy comes out to be like, nope, I am not the whipping boy anymore. And maybe Stu Skinner gets a solid 10 by himself too, because they'd have to apologize to him. All right, let's not put the cart before the horse. But one thing I noticed watching the Jets-Stars game last night, they are going to have to play a lot more physical than the series they're in now when they come up against Edmonton, because Edmonton's crash and bang and they're making it hard on D-men. Like Alex Pietrangelo, if he was injured before that series, which a lot of people say he was, they were crushing him game in and game out. And they're not going to change that. But Dallas and Winnipeg, it's not a physical series. They're not playing that. Outside of Jamie Benn punching Mark Scheifele in the face last night, it really isn't all that physical.
Well, look, I do think Game 5 was the most physical game of the series, and I think it's kind of trending in that direction. Beyond the sucker punch and the hate and all of that, I did see more in the way of hits and, more in the way of scrums and a lot of additional stuff like that, right? So I do think the series is headed that way. And, you talk about the other series, right? Like, go back to the beginning of that Florida series after Game 2 and Paul Maurice's message, which I think NHL.com played about, hit them at every turn, and over the course of a long series, it's going to pay off. And, are we seeing some of that here? I don't know. Like, it does feel like every team is fresh, but I just think the Dallas Stars have another level to get to. We talked about Vegas and just how quiet their Stars have been. Dallas's Stars have also been quiet outside of the Finnish players, right? And even Miro Heiskanen, who's just now 2 games back in, I think there's another level for him to get to. He looked a lot better in the last game than he did in the previous game. And I think he could have a big impact. And some of these other guys that have just been really quiet, not only could they have a bigger impact in putting this series away on Saturday, and I'm heading down there tonight so I can cover the game tomorrow in Dallas, but also they have a higher ceiling in terms of what it looks like to potentially beat Edmonton, right? I do think there's a significantly higher level for Dallas to get to than there is for Winnipeg to get to in terms of a Western Conference final.
Last night, Carolina did what Carolina does. They play stifling defense, they take advantage of opportunities, and they win. And here's Oiler fans, Dallas Star fans. I don't necessarily know that a lot of people have paid attention to just how good, boring New Jersey Devil 1999-ish, 2000 or whatever. They play trap hockey, but Farhan, it works. They don't give up a lot. And their goal, it's hard to say Frederik Andersen is one of the best goalies in the Stanley Cup playoffs so far this year. That's not Freddie's MO.
No, it's not. And, anybody can go on a run, as they say. So, look, I'll be honest. This is the series I've probably watched the least of everything going on right now. But you're right. And, Carolina was... People were expecting this version of Carolina throughout the season, and I don't think we got it, right? Like, we got it in fits and spurts, and then they make the big trade, and that doesn't necessarily work out, right? So then they make the trade with Dallas, and I think after they made that trade, they kind of settled in a little bit more to who they are, and we saw a bit of it at the regular season, and we've certainly seen it in this playoff round, especially, right, against the Capitals that were looking pretty good coming out of round 1. So, but yeah, I mean, that was probably the least predictable storyline, that Freddie Andersen was going to be the guy going forward. And we'll see how long he can carry them if it's going to be against Florida next round.
All right. We're pumping a lot of tires of our own here at Rider Training Camp. What's coming out of the Lions camp there? And you had said before, there's no way that Nathan Rourke would look, if he has a full training camp underneath him and all of this, there's no way he's going to look as bad as he did last year. What's the word from Lions camp so far this year?
Yeah, I talked to a couple of players on the offensive side, and I haven't been to Kamloops, right? I mean, I've been talking to people up there, coaching, management, and and players, and they're excited about what they're seeing from Nathan. They believe he's the Nathan of old, right? That he's picked up Buck Pierce's offense exceptionally well. He spent a lot of time this offseason digesting it, and even Buck has said that it's opened up some things that I wanted to do that maybe Zach Caleros didn't want to do when I was in Winnipeg. So he's also excited about the possibilities of where this offense can go under Nathan Rourke. So they released a clip yesterday of him taking off for a 50-plus yard touchdown run up the middle, and obviously you're not going to hit the quarterback, but just to see the confidence with which he was running was pretty exciting. So, we'll see. Like, I've got some questions as to what their receiving core is going to look like after the top three. I've got some questions as to what their interior offensive line is going to look like. And I could throw the names out at you, but it probably wouldn't mean anything to your audience. But I do think that the keys that are there feel pretty good about where Nathan is at right now. So we'll see what those couple question mark spots look like. And same thing on defense. I think their D line is going to be a lot better than anyone expects. And the early conversation out of training camp has been good. Secondary is what I want to see. What are their halfbacks going to look like, right? They got Deontay Williams from Saskatchewan. He'll give him a better tackling presence on one of the corners. They'll be good at the other corner with Gary Peterson at safety, but the halfbacks I have concerns with. So let's see what some of those troubled areas look like, and every team seems to have some.
The one thing about the Buck Pierce offense, and when it was announced that he was going to be taking over BC, in his years in Winnipeg, when they were firing on all cylinders, they could score, and they could score quickly. And I was like, oh, and with Nathan Rourke. So I doubt that Buck has said, hey, let's slow this thing down. I mean, if you're talking about 50-yarders, the proper answer would have been, Maz, he threw 5 picks in a row yesterday, and it's not going well or whatever, and it's going to be a tough year. They're going
to take a while to get going, right? Like this.
I know
this could be the year they lose the opener in front of the big crowd, right? Like they haven't the last few years. But I think it'll take a while for this group to gel, but I do think they will, and I think primarily they will because Nathan's also evolved as a leader as well with this group now, right? So I don't think you can put a price tag on that as you see in Saskatchewan with a tremendous leader like Trevor Harris. It matters.
Final question. Are you the gentleman that will get a chance to go out and introduce Snoop Dogg on stage at BC?
Oh, that would be fun. Hey? I doubt it. I think they'll have somebody with a little bit more musical cachet than me. But if they ask, I will absolutely do it. And I might even suggest it now that you've brought it up. See, I was hoping we'd bring the panel. And if we brought the panel, then I was going to, push for Milt to do it. Right. But I don't think the panel is coming out for that game. I think they're going to be in Saskatchewan that weekend, actually. But we couldn't get them out. So, maybe I'll have to sub. I'll have to fill in.
Ask him to play gin and watermelon juice for your fans here in Rider Nation. It's Farhan Lalji from TSN. Safe travels off to Dallas to cover that Jets game tomorrow. We'll catch up next week. It'll be great. All right, it's time to take a break. Farhan is brought to you by the Cooperators. If it's time to get financially fit, Cooperators can build a plan that works for you. Cooperators invest in your future together. Centennial Cup update. Midway through the first period, Melfort Mustangs 1-0 lead on the Sudbury Cubs. We need Melfort to come through to win, and then it's off to the semifinals tomorrow with a chance to play for the Centennial Cup on Sunday. All right, let's take a break. We'll regroup when we come back. We're going to dive into, with the NFL schedule being released yesterday, there was some weird and wacky things. Do you know what team is going to travel the most miles out of anybody? And you'd think, well, it does add up over time. And the actual amount, the distance they're going to travel is staggering. We'll dive into that next. This is the Sports Cage as we stream our show on X and on YouTube at sportscage.com and on the radio, 620 CKRM. Caleb Binner and Cole Unger, your clutch performers so far this afternoon. The Melfort Mustangs leading the Sudbury Cubs 2-0 in the first intermission. It's quarterfinal Friday at the Centennial Cup in Calgary. With the win, the Mustangs will move on to the semifinals tomorrow. They could take on either Trenton or Calgary. It all depends on this game and then the next game and then the seeding from the round robin to see. They win today, win tomorrow. It's off to the final on Sunday. That's my clutch performer. The Sheriff, Big Al, Alan Lee is in. He hasn't been on the show in a while. I think it was since the day after WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah,
Is your clutch?
Been a while.
Is your clutch performer wrestling related, Al? It doesn't have to be.
I wish I wanted to, but I was going to go with Nikola Jokic because he helped force the Game 7 for the Denver Nuggets. 29 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists. I was very impressed. So that's my guy.
Nice.
That's my clutch performer.
Al's a big NBA guy. We lost Netflix for a few days because it ran out and I didn't go buy a new Netflix card, so I haven't been able to watch Raw. I could probably watch SmackDown tonight and get myself caught up here. Colson, I'll text you later with the results. I won't spoil anything for you, just in case you're going to go back and maybe binge some Raws and SmackDowns. Yeah, okay, good. That's a text you won't get from me tonight.
Yeah, my clutch performer. You guys heard of Connor Hellebuck? Got a shutout there. Did pretty good. Get the Jets back into it. So that's my clutch performer. Do we have an unclutch performer today?
The Los Angeles Dodgers beat the Oakland A's, who have been a dumpster fire when they were in Oakland. Now they're playing in Sacramento. Because their home in Vegas isn't built. They lost yesterday 19-2.
Ooh.
Oh, and speaking of unclutch performers, Shohei Ohtani hit 2 home runs yesterday because it was bobblehead night. His translator, who was convicted on, is it embezzlement of $17 million for gambling, was supposed to report to jail back in March, but then mysteriously that got pushed. He hasn't reported yet, and he's kind of disappeared apparently. According to a Twitter account I follow, his name is Vegas Pauly C. This guy knows anything and everything about Vegas. If you want to follow, you'll know exactly where to go and not go. From buffets to casinos, you'll get it all. All right, that's it for this hour. When we come back, Luke and Dave, Mark Habicht. Oh, yeah. We got to do a sports ticker here. We'll get to that next, and then more Luke and Dave. And it's Green and White Day tomorrow at Gordie Howe Field in Saskatoon. A lot going on for the family and for the kids, but there's some business to be taken care of on the field, and all eyes are going to be on what's happening when the 2025 version of the Saskatchewan Roughriders take to the field at Gordie Howe, because as we'd mentioned in hour 1, there's jobs on the line, and some things may be decided tomorrow, maybe even things you're not even watching for, but Dave and Luke will fill us in with that. All right, we'll be back. It's the Sports Cage on the home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 620 CKRM. Centennial Cup in Calgary after 1 period of play. Quarterfinals, Melfort Mustangs 2, Sudbury Cubs, no score. Western Hockey League tonight, the final continues. The Medicine Hat Tigers are up 3-1 on the Spokane Chiefs. Terrace McEwen, Swift Current Broncos, no longer the head coach. Mutually agreed to part ways is how it was said. So the Broncos are looking for a new head coach. And one game in the NHL, Stanley Cup playoffs, Game 6, Leafs, Panthers. With a win, the Panthers can knock out the Leafs and move on to the Eastern Conference Final. Face-off tonight in Sunrise goes at 6 o'clock. Almost long weekend edition of the Sports Cage. Well, it's after 5. I would assume that if you have a normal life and job, they've let you go by now, and the long weekend has started. It's going to be a cool one. That's our Twitter poll question today on the Sports Cage. If it's the May long weekend, are you camping no matter what the weather? Nice weather or no? Hard no. We're not campers. The Mazurks or the McFlys, if we're going by my fake, we never were campers, never will be campers. The kids asked the other day, Mom, could we go camping? And she said, no, never been camping. As long as you be able, that's not our thing. All of my neighbors in the cul-de-sac all have fifth wheels, and all have rolled out at various times today. Some 7 in the morning. Saw 2 noon departures and one right before the show started. A family that I always question to be like, you leave your garbage cans out for 3 days after pickup? How are you organized enough to go camping for 3 days? And then if you do, when do you unpack, or do you? Ugh. My brother's got a cabin at Greenwater, and he's telling me, or a trailer at Greenwater, and you've got to put Irish Spring in there over the winter to keep the mice away. I don't mind Irish Spring, but that's intense. I think he's opening up the trailer this weekend. It's Maz in for Barney, and Dave Thomas, voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, is live at the Red Zone Sports Bar in Saskatoon as training camp continues. Tomorrow's Green and White Day, and we'll go there now. Mark Habicht is joining us. Now, Mark is... Mark, what's your title? Has it changed? You wear many hats, but just you're official on the Saskatchewan Roughrider business card. Mark, what does it say?
Yeah, so right now it says Director of Retail Operations and Interim Director of Marketing. How's that?
Bang on.
Nice. So the Interim Director of Marketing, I would assume that is new. Is that something that's been added since we last chatted?
Yeah, I think so. Jackie, who's our Director of Marketing, went on a mat leave. So shout out to Jackie and her new baby, and they're doing great. And they're like, hey, you've been here a long time. We need somebody to pick up some of this work. So I said, sure, I'll do it. But it's been going great. It's a lot of fun. And it's been great.
Mark, probably the most...
Go ahead.
Oh, no. Okay, I was good. And I'll ask this and I'll let Dave get to it. The most asked question about the Saskatchewan Roughriders since the season has ended is Obsidian Green coming back this year? Are they doing that again? A, I didn't get in on it, or E, I would like to wear my stuff again. And the definitive answer is?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll have a couple of games for sure this year, and it's going to be great. New stuff coming in. New stuff in the store right now, actually. So come shopping.
Now, by my math, and my math sometimes is off, don't tell Revenue Canada, but 49 weeks ago was when Obsidian Green was officially launched.
Okay.
And 2 weeks after that, we were in Edmonton, and I vividly recall seeing a couple of fans down right in front of Luke and I at Commonwealth Stadium wearing their Obsidian jerseys. And I thought, this is something. And it really became something and much more, didn't it?
Yeah, it was really great. It far exceeded our expectations. We were excited about what it could do, but I'll tell you, it was even more than we expected. We're super excited, so that's why it's coming back this year. And I think you're going to see it for a few years. We got some new products, some new exciting things, and I know the guys, the players love wearing them. They're excited to wear them again on the field.
Now, as far as fans go, I have a jacket and I have a hoodie. I don't have a jersey. Because there was a whole bunch of other rider stuff that I bought before Obsidian came out. What are some of the new products people can be looking for in Obsidian this year, if you're allowed to say, just to get people curious or wet the whistle for what's coming to the rider store?
Yeah, well, there's a whole bunch of new sideline gear. So every year, the stuff that the players kind of wear on the sideline, we have. So we got a bunch of stuff in Obsidian for that kind of goes with what the guys are going to be wearing for those games, which is awesome. Whole bunch of new headwear. We've got more headwear that's going to be coming. But we've even got some new things like blankets. We didn't do blankets in Obsidian last year, and we had some requests for it. So we've got some things like that coming. So there's a whole bunch of new Obsidian things. I think you're going to find something that everybody's going to love.
Now, tomorrow, Green and White Day here in Saskatoon. I'm sure there's going to be an opportunity to see some of those new models that are going to be around, whether it's at the store downtown or over at Saskatoon Minor Football Field.
Bunch of stuff here for Midtown. So if you're in town and you want to go to Midtown in Saskatoon, or at the Rider store, of course, at good old Mosaic, lots of new stuff. New stuff, honestly, arriving every single day, which is fantastic. And then, we're going to have a retail set up at Green and White, so there'll be some fun stuff down there too.
I know one of the things last year. Was that in late September, early October, when the Riders took the show on the road and they were set up in McMahon Stadium? Now, it's one thing when you see Rider Nation in full effect in the province of Saskatchewan. I mean, it's hand in hand. But when you do the roadie and you go to a different location, whether it been to Vancouver, to Ottawa, or in Calgary, are you ever surprised when you're like, wow, you would never think that we could have this much support all the way across the country?
Yeah, this is season 17 for me. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm ever surprised anymore because I've seen so many things, but I am always so thrilled to see it and so pleased when they come out, and even a couple of years I got to go to Halifax and to see the support that traveled out there for Halifax. It is amazing, right? The support we get up here in Saskatoon. I mean, this is such a key, important market for us. We know we're the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We embrace being the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We love it. We love to hold camp up here. And so coming in a place like Saskatoon and the support we get up here. I mean, it is really just fantastic, and we appreciate it so much.
Now, for folks that aren't listening in Regina or Saskatoon or watching us somewhere across North America or the globe on YouTube and at sportscage.com, you can always buy online, because I know that I look at my man Luke and I'm like, hey, where'd you get that? And he's, oh, I got it online. Or again, friends of ours maybe living in Swift Current, and you don't have to drive in. You can get it online, and it's always changing there too and updating, right?
Yeah, we sure try. We work really hard. Everything that you'll find in stores should be online, unless for some reason we just don't think we can ship it. We sure try to get it on there. And yeah, our online sales are great. It grows every year. And Rider Nation really is, Canada-wide and even worldwide. The amount of stuff that we ship to, Australia and Vietnam. Wow. I'm always surprised. I mean, it's often expats, people from Saskatchewan who are living somewhere, or maybe they've met somebody and they want to send them something. But it is amazing how much we still get orders like that.
Well, Mark, we know you've got, it's a busy day tomorrow at SMF Field. I'll still call it Gordie Howe Bowl. The merch trailer will be set up there. Rider fans can come out. If you're willing to just pass along whatever your online password is to get us a staff discount, I think that would be great. And then we can,
let me, I can't remember off the top of my head, but if I think of it, I'll let you know.
Sure. No problem. It wouldn't be Riders 1, 2, 3, 4 or anything like that for the online.
Yeah, I used to.
Hey, we
yeah. Sorry, I used to joke that it was 6, 89, 07, and 13, which was great. It got tougher on the fourth one, which was good.
Hey, we're all good if we have to add a fifth one this year, okay? Because there's a lot of talk, and I'm sure that you've probably heard the hype machine is growing. And could you imagine if you have to start making Obsidian Grey Cup gear with the
I'm in
2025, the thing, and all of that? That'll be a Merry Christmas at the Rider store this year if it all works out the way we're all hoping it will. Mark Habicht from the Saskatchewan Roughriders joining us. The Western Pizza Guest Hotline. We're live at the Red Zone Sports Bar behind the Travel Lodge in Saskatoon, where training camp continues. Green and white game goes tomorrow, and then another week of camp getting ready for the preseason opener against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers next Saturday. And, of course, we will have it for you right here on the home of Rider Nation all season long, 620 CKRM. We'll have the Rider Nation pregame show starting at 11 o'clock. I think kickoff goes at 2. All right, time to take a break. When we come back, time to dive into what's happening at the Centennial Cup in Calgary. The Melfort Mustangs were up 2-0 on the Sudbury Cubs. About 11 minutes to go in the second period. The Melfort Mustangs leading the Sudbury Cubs at the Centennial Cup 3-1. Mustangs 3, Cubs 1, about 11 minutes to go in the second period. It's quarterfinal Friday with a win. The Melfort Mustangs will move on to the semifinals tomorrow, where they could either take on the Calgary Canucks or the Trenton Golden Hawks. It all depends on what will happen with the Rockland Nationals and the Northern Manitoba Blizzard game, which will follow the Mustangs game. So Mustangs up 3-1. Western Hockey League tonight. The championship final continues. The Medicine Hat Tigers leading the Spokane Chiefs 3-1. With a win, they wrap things up and move on to the Memorial Cup. No Gavin McKenna, probably, and maybe a Caden Lindstrom on a pitch count. That could be from the injury. It could be from the Columbus Blue Jackets. Face-off is 8 o'clock Saski time. If games 6 and 7 are needed, I don't think they are, they're going to be back in Medicine Hat. And Stanley Cup playoffs tonight, just the one game, but it's a big one. The landscape of hockey could change in this country. Well, for people that live in the bubble that are Leaf fans. Leafs-Panthers, Game 6 tonight at 6. Panthers win. It's off to the Eastern Conference Final to take on the Carolina Hurricanes. And you want to talk about a sweet travel schedule? Carolina to Sunrise to Raleigh? Nothing. It's not like the 5 hours it's going to be to Dallas to Edmonton or to Winnipeg. And that's your sports ticker. Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, I thought we were doing something else. That's me. It's been a long week. It's the long weekend mode. We're doing that. Let's go back to Saskatoon. Red Zone Sports Bar. Mark Habicht from the Saskatchewan Roughriders, the guy responsible for Obsidian Green. But basically, I think it's safe to say, Dave Thomas. Listen, if we're handing out trophies, oh hey Mark, have I told you about my brilliant idea? If there's the
Oh, no,
Bowl,
don't go
it's been
there.
going
No.
for 2 decades. There's the Stampede Bowl in Calgary. I had said to Craig Reynolds, probably know him, a few weeks ago, what about if we need a gimmick game, your department can probably do up a real nice fake type trophy, the Pilsner Cup. We don't know who we'd play it for each year, but that's our fake game, and the trophy that would be handed out afterwards is the Pilsner Cup.
I like it. I'll talk to Craig. We'll get this happening. I don't know. It's not a bad idea.
Wow. Okay.
It's not a bad idea. Our friends at Molson will like it.
Yeah.
Turn off Dave's mic, please. Mark, keep going. Yes, keep going.
Okay, hold on. First of all, Luke didn't say it was a bad idea. He said it was a terrible idea. So just so everybody remembers that. But what is a great idea is here in Saskatoon tomorrow. I want to segue over to the green and white day over at Saskatoon Minor Football Field, because for folks that haven't been to training camp in Saskatoon, it is so cool. There have been students out there, have been schools that have been coming. There's been fans that have been in the stands each and every one of the workouts. And tomorrow is just a day to give back to the fans and have an opportunity to see heroes up close and personal, isn't it?
Yeah, I touched on it. I mean, this is such an important market for us. We love Saskatoon. We have so many great fans up here, season ticket holders, people who buy single game tickets and travel down, and we don't take that for granted. It is so important. And so, I mean, I said this is season 17 for me. I was talking to one of the guys in the office, been around, I think, 23 years. We've been doing green and white games in Saskatoon as long as he can remember. So this is a tradition, right? And, we talked about the Grey Cup. For me, the start of the season is green and white game, and then it starts in Saskatoon, and then it ends, hopefully it's going to end this year in Winnipeg holding that cup. But it is such an important part of it. So, very excited about green and white game and excited to do that again.
And it's an opportunity to have fans come out, and there is something for everyone, right?
There really is, yeah. So the key takeaway for today is if you remember one thing, 1 o'clock tomorrow is when the gates open. You can come in. We've got kind of a rider fan, a state of the nation, state of Rider Nation, we call it. And people can come and they can hear right from Craig. Some other people will be there talking. Jay, I think, will be there. And so that's great if you want to do that. If you don't want to do that, or you want to bring the kids down and they don't want to sit and listen to Craig talk football, there'll be face painting. We've got Gator down there. We've got cheer team. We've got pep band. So there's lots of stuff. There'll be some games down there. There'll be the stores we talked about. So lots of things to do. And then the great part is the team comes out. Team's going to come out, bring them out, do a little stretch, do a little scrimmage, and then even maybe some opportunity to catch a couple of autographs. So it's really a full day. It's going to, like I said, start at 1 o'clock, but it's going to go all the way till probably about 5 o'clock, and lots of things to do, lots of fun to do.
And if I was a betting person, which I'm not, but if I was a betting person, I would suggest the last Rough Rider off the field will be Kean Schaefer-Baker.
That's probably true. Yeah, that's probably true. I will say people ask me this all the time. He's our number one selling jersey.
Is he? Okay.
Absolutely. And it's by quite a bit. And people love him. And also he loves the fans. So he loves to hang out. He loves to sign autographs, as you know. And so I would say it's a pretty good bet.
And I just got a text, and I'm going to put it right to you because I know the answer, but
okay,
how much does it cost to get in?
Nothing. It's free. Yeah, nothing. Free. So come on down, bring the family. It's going to be a beautiful day. When I came in here, it was beautiful, sunny and warm. It's going to be nice tomorrow. I know it's not going to be quite as warm as we'd like for May long weekend, but it's going to be pretty darn good.
Well, Mark, we appreciate you coming up and taking time for us here live at the Red Zone Sports Bar behind the Saskatoon Travel Lodge. It's going to be a great day tomorrow.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
All right. One of the big battles in training camp is the running back position behind A.J. Ouellette. And Dave Thomas had a chance to catch up with one of the guys who's vying for one of those coveted jobs, Trent Penix. Dave Thomas here on the SportsCage.
Well, Trent, Luke Mullinder, our color analyst, has had his eye on you this entire camp, and he likes what he sees. How do you feel?
I feel great. It's a great feeling coming up here after a while of not playing ball, getting my feet back in the dirt and getting pads on, getting the ball in my hands, pretty much picking off from where I left off and also moving around positions. So showing these coaches how versatile I really am and how they can use me on 4 phases of special teams, fullback, running back, anywhere you want me to play, you got it. So I just try to be a very key aspect and really a key contributor to add points to that scoreboard.
Your last point of contact, if you will, in football was down in Indianapolis with the National Football League. What have you been doing since then, and how did you get yourself ready for this camp?
Yes, sir. When I went back home coming to Raleigh, just constantly trained at NC State, keeping my body fresh, constantly going to chiropractor, try to get massages, pretty much keeping my body, because you never know during that time when you're a free agent, you never know when you're going to get that call, so you always got to be ready because it happens quick, and then next thing you know, coming up here, and then it's a very, very big difference knowing that it's a lot cooler up here. It's very different from Raleigh, North Carolina compared to Canada, and so just getting my feet warm and now get acclimated to everything that's going on, the new game, new rules and all, so now everything is coming back full force. So
what did you know about the Canadian Football League and Saskatchewan in general when you signed that deal?
Yes, sir. I knew the Rough Riders were the real deal, were the ones that really run this whole league, and that they have the best fan base in the whole country, and I'm ready to see what that fan base look like, to see that stadium in green and white.
You talked about that you're ready to play all four phases, anywhere that they put you. What makes you so versatile?
Just going back to my NC State days, just Coach Doran, just doing whatever he needs. Any things happen on a roster, so next man up, you just got to be prepared for when your name is called. You can be plugged in anywhere, and you just got to show these coaches that you can earn their trust and that they can put you anywhere they need you.
Tell me about your first CFL playbook. What's it like jumping in?
Oh, honestly, compared to the NFL, it's much simpler. It's to the fact that I already had an insight of some kind of professional, it kind of makes this a little easier to break down and know the concepts and know what, speaking of running backs, knowing why we're running our track the way we're running it, and everything's coming back to a full circle. So,
what's the biggest adjustment you've had to make?
The field for sure is a longer field. There's 3 downs compared to 4. It's little switches in the rules and little details, but for the most game, it's still football. At the end of the day, you're still putting your face on somebody else's pads, and at the end of the day, you're trying to take another man's will. So, and trying to win the game at the end of the day for your brother. So that's all there is.
In Mark Mueller's playbook, there's lots of opportunities to come out of the backfield and make catches. Are you comfortable with that?
For sure. Like I'm already making plays, whether if it's passing or catching out of the backfield. So just got to keep giving these coaches trust, give the OC the trust that you can put the ball in my hands, I can really make anything shake in the open field.
Coach talked about your physicality today in blocking. That must make you proud.
Yes, sir. When he called me and Mario's name up for the showcase for the whole team, I had a mindset that he just had to trigger something on the inside of me. So at that, just take my coaching into that drill. And then, as you can see, it worked out perfectly, showed my aggressiveness, and it's in front of the whole team. So it shows the team and these coaches that I'm really to put my face on the line for anybody. So
Trent, appreciate your time. Wish you continued success going forward.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, Dave, Luke. If Trent Penix reminds you of one runner in the CFL who's currently playing, because a lot of us haven't seen him yet, who does he remind you of?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would say a taller Dedrick Mills, maybe.
I'm not sure. I mean, we haven't really seen him in a game.
No, that's true.
Right? Like, we've only seen him in practice. I actually don't mind the Dedrick Mills comparison. I think that but again, I mean, it's way too early to call.
Yeah.
At this point, right? Like, Maz, you can, the guys you end up being like, oh man, this guy looks great. You always have to put it in the correct context, right? It's like, yeah, you do look amazing or great. Like, so for instance, the guy's making the massive catches in day 2. Everybody's like, oh man, this guy's a beast. All of a sudden we haven't seen him. And one of the reasons why is probably because there's a billion more plays in, and he's really slowing down in terms of, his confidence, right? So I think that for what he's done thus far, he's been great, right? But, and there's always a but, we got to see those live bullets. You know what I mean? And Saturday is one opportunity, but it's going to be, I can't wait till the exhibition game. These guys are going to have 2 weeks of pent up aggression, just ready to let loose. Yeah. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as well. Right. So.
Yeah. Let's, we only got about a minute left here. So we'll go away from football. Luke Mullinder, your Toronto Maple Leafs are facing elimination. They're facing a complete meltdown and a roster makeover and the core 4 or core 5 and dynamite and blowing things up tonight in Florida. They lose 6-1 the other night. Nobody knows what's going to happen, what team is going to show up. You can't tell me you're feeling good going into Game 6 tonight at Sunrise.
Listen, this is You got to be a different breed to be a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, man. You know, like we're nuts. We're insane.
I know. I'm a Saskatchewan Roughrider fan. You don't have to tell me about being crazed about your team.
We will put our life or our fandom on the line for the Leafs every year, and it will always be our year. And they'll find a way to let us down. So, again, it's context, right? Right now, Trent Penix is great, and you know what? In the regular season, the Leafs are going to win the cup. And then we get to the playoffs, and the real Leafs show up. I just think that if things are going to get adjusted, like the guys who want to play, those are the guys who should have the letters on the jersey. So right now, Nylander is my guy for the seat, right? Yeah.
Barney just texted me, by the way.
I like even guys like Domi, man. They're out there grinding. Wow. Meantime, the highest paid player in the world, and the two other clowns are just minus $1 billion. Anyways,
the Austin Matthews fan club at the Red Zone Sports Bar in Saskatoon.
And in 24 minutes, the clown show will have a face-off, and you can come and see those clowns play in Sunrise. I know that you have dinner on the line with Barney, including appetizers, which I don't know if that was the linchpin of putting this through. And I'm like, you know, depending, I'm like, and then my one question is, are you splitting an appetizer between the two of you, or does you each get a separate one?
No, absolutely not, man. Yeah, no. Listen, I am a guy. The one thing about me is I'm going to be true to my word, and what he wants to eat that night, that's what he's going to get. That's
all right. All right, we got to go to break here real quick before we come back. Jordan Schmaltz is going to join us on the show next. Jay Swish, if you will, went to the University of North Dakota, where he became a part of Rider Nation because of some of his teammates that were playing on the club from Moose Jaw. So he already has a Rider jersey. His brother Nick plays for the Utah Hockey Club, and he hosts the Hockey Night in Scottsdale YouTube streamcast with Rob Gucci, a.k.a. Heat Daddy. We'll chat with him next, but a quick update from the Centennial Cup in Calgary. There's about 8 minutes left in the second period. Melfort Mustangs leading the Sudbury Cubs 3-1. This is the Sports Cage on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM.